Edward Leos. Welcome to Travel Talk, filmed at the Peachtree Rose Marketing Studios and hosted by the Hotel Guide publisher, Edward Leos.
Good morning, everybody. Edward Leos here, your publisher of the Hotel Guide and your host of Travel Talk, our podcast. I'm really excited about today's guest, Suzanne Connor. She's actually the founder of Bottega Brio. We've actually talked off camera, and she's doing such amazing things. And I was like, hey, we need to have you on the podcast. And so, Susie, I'm so happy to have you on our latest edition of Travel Talk.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. Well, like I like to do with all my guests, obviously our listeners are like, well, who are you talking to, Edward? Tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of how you got to where you are, and then we'll get into some of the business stuff and what's going on great in your world.
Okay, that's an easy one. So I've been in the interior design world for over 2 decades. I started as a designer doing yacht interiors and residential, like high-end residential, the large oceanfront homes and waterfront homes in South Florida. As I grew in the profession and in my career, I found myself running my own business, which is called Casatopia. We obsess over every single detail, the most, we call it the minutia because that's exactly what it is, from the interior architecture to sourcing and designing and creating the best furniture pieces for these spaces. Finding really amazing textiles and wall coverings is a huge part of what we do at Casatopia as well. But in the business of Casatopia, sourcing was always the most challenging part and frustrating part. I guess I could use frustrating. You can picture as a designer what you want and what you're looking for, what you're trying to find, but then getting it to be the right piece that's well made, that has meaning, that's more of an heirloom and it's not mass produced. It was an uphill battle that was just always really a challenge. So many times not being able to source the absolute best piece led us at Casatopia to design custom pieces, and we did both custom pieces for furniture and for lighting. So that's unique in that, people don't often think that you can make your own lighting, but you certainly can. So that's why, I decided to flip the script a little bit and launch Bottega Brio, which is my current business endeavor that I'm going down. And so its goal is to solve that frustrating problem, not just for me, but for all interior designers, craving more soulful pieces that have stories and telling the story of the maker. So now, from high-end interior designer in South Florida, I'm traveling in my RV, which is super crazy but very fun. With my 2 Rhodesian Ridgebacks, they're about 100 pounds each. So put the 3 of us in an RV. Sedona and Sarai are their names. They are a lot of fun on the road. They're pretty chill, actually, but it makes for a good adventure along the way. But I travel in the van to scout the makers and the artisans, and then also meet all these designers that I'm selling these products to. So it's my life went from in the field at construction sites and behind the desk to being on the road scouting and really telling the story of the trip also. So that's been really interesting and exciting. And then meeting all the craftsmen along the way. It's just very rewarding.
Oh, I can imagine. So you're talking about a total flip the script, just like you just said. What have been some of the most memorable things you're doing so far by going out and about, from behind the desk to now you're out on the road in an RV with your 2 best friends there?
Yeah.
What has been like some
foodies.
some great takeaways from that?
So the main thing I think is that there is inspiration on the road that you don't really know where it's going to come from, but you see these small towns and design influence in everything, in the restaurants and the hotels, the local centers where people sort of gather, but there's talent everywhere. And I think that's the best part, is that you don't know what's going to catch your eye or what you're going to find. It's not in any guide that you can read online or anything that has those small nuances that are related to design. So I hope to shed a light on those areas and those makers and those craftsmen, because they're doing what they can to get their craft and their trade out there And so hopefully
Yeah.
we get to shine that spotlight on them.
That's awesome. Do you focus on a particular area of the country, or is it kind of anywhere?
Yes, to say we could do the whole country is that's a large task, and we are going to do that, but we're focusing primarily on the two coasts. So the South Florida market, where I'm from, of course, from Palm Beach all the way to Miami and the surrounding areas. There's quite a bit in Florida for the high-end design market. And then in Miami, from Palm Beach to Miami, that area of the country is growing the fastest for luxury and high-end design than anywhere else, even more so than California. But then California as a state, as a whole, is probably it's second only to Florida. so
Wow.
so those are our two targets, and pretty much in those two demographics you can touch on the people buying those homes and these types of products from everywhere in the rest of the country. And a lot, if you've been to South Florida, you know that it's like the what do they call it, the sixth borough of New
Yeah.
York. So yeah.
No, definitely so. So tell me about some of your plans for 2025 or
Mhm.
beyond for the company. Like, what do you have on tap? What are some of the things that maybe some of our listeners could be on the lookout for from you?
Yeah, this is a huge year for Bottega Brio because we are just launching it as of now. So we are expanding and really targeting the hospitality design space. So I come from the residential yacht interior space,
Mhm.
and so hospitality is something that I'm really excited about to work with the really cutting edge designers that do hotel and restaurant designs. And so we hope to give them the statement pieces that they're looking for that don't look like the things that they may necessarily see everywhere
Yeah.
else. And commercial design, when I was in college, at ASU for undergrad, that's where I really saw myself going. I wanted to design restaurants and nightclubs. As like a 21-year-old, I was like, yeah, nightclubs. And so not having really spent a lot of my career in interior design doing that, I'm like super excited to work with these designers and get them these amazing pieces that really tell a story, and that can bring that to, there's oftentimes in hospitality design, there's a huge traditional or cultural influence in those hotels and properties. So it's important to match the right maker with those designers. So we're building, as far as like tasks on hand, we're building a curated digital library for of the makers that we represent and makers and artisans, so that they can basically be in everyone's living room. Every interior designer can pop open their laptop, ipad, whatever, and see makers from around the world. So it's hopefully going to make it a lot easier for them to source these
Mm.
pieces and also have access to making custom pieces. And so that's a huge thing for designers, to have access to the right artisan to make their custom piece, because that's a big frustrating part for us. And then, I guess the whole premise of Bottega Brio is to think of it as like as a designer, I want them to think of it as their favorite design showroom that meets an editorial travel journal experience while I'm on the road. So I'll be documenting everything, under the behind the scenes part will be behind this, on the Suzanne Connor platform. And
Okay.
so that is where you can follow along the journey, see the dogs and the food and the crazy stuff I make in the RV. And then we'll do the forward facing stuff on Bottega Brio's channels, so that the designers can tune into just that part if that's what they're interested in.
Interesting. Oh, that's awesome. So you got a good mix of experiential travel in a
Yeah.
business, which is amazing. And that's obviously one of the biggest things that's coming on tap for travel is the experiential side of things. We've talked about that offline,
Mhm.
but then also just the experience of going to a restaurant or to a hotel. From the interior to the lighting to the smell, how hotels and hospitality is really getting so keen on that for their guests. Can you
Mhm.
touch on that a little bit with what you're doing?
Yeah, designing for the senses. It's the right way to approach interior design. I think
Mhm.
a lot of times we think, as non-designers think that it's just what it looks like, but you don't really take into effect that there is, sense of hearing, sense of sound, hearing, the sense of, it's not just what you see, right? It's what you hear, it's what you smell. It's how the fabric feels against your skin. If you're touching wood or metal when you're sitting in a piece of furniture, and how that feels, if it's warm or cold under your hand. The acoustics are incredibly important for any interior design project to be successful. Acoustics and lighting, I think, it should go without saying how
Yeah.
important they are, but when they're wrong, you certainly understand and know that.
Yep.
Hotel lobbies that are just echoing everything and you can't hear the person right at the check-in desk. So those are things that, these designers that we're working with obviously don't ever run into those things. They're so seasoned and they know what they're doing. And so it's really, for me, it's like being a kid in a candy store, to be able to share, first to get their concept and what it is that they're looking for,
Yeah.
and then pair them with, someone from Ukraine or Spain or Italy or Mexico, and having access to what I'll see is the right personality to fit,
Mhm.
and then those products just resonate in those spaces. So it's pretty cool.
No, that's awesome. I love what you're doing with the company, with the brand, and how you're flipping the script a little bit. So
Yeah.
speaking of flipping the script, let's go to the personal side. I always love to ask my guests
Okay.
these two questions. Give me a couple of your favorite travel destinations you've been to, and then number two, give me a couple of bucket places that you want to go to.
Okay, so places that I've been. I love this because I get to like go back in my memory banks here. Italy, of course. My mom's Italian, born in Italy, so it will always have like a special place to me and special meaning to me. The craftsmanship there is like the best in the world, probably, for so many things. The materials that they use, it's everything about it. And obviously, you can't go without saying something about their food.
Oh yeah.
So the other place that I visited was southern Spain. That trip to the Alhambra was what inspired me to go into interior design and architecture. So I went there in high school and then studied interior architecture as a result,
Mm.
the following year at ASU at Arizona State. But the Moorish influence there from the Moors that came over from
Mhm.
Morocco, that was a huge influence in southern Spain. And you don't I guess you don't really think about like tile as being
Yeah.
inspiring, but that's what I noticed the most about southern Spain was all the tile, the small towns that had all the little detailing everywhere. Let's see. And then I guess this whole concept of taking my leisure travel van across the country back and forth and all over the place. I'll be heading actually to New York in May for ICFF, which is a trade show that we go to, and filming along the way with all the
Okay.
different makers and everything. So that's but the RV, I love the RV. I love national parks too. So those are up a short list of
That's for sure.
favorite places.
Those are some good things.
Yeah.
My brother he got a little RV too, and they've been traveling and doing those things. And it's actually, post pandemic, you're seeing RVs and you're seeing that kind of travel where you just want to be out in nature and connect with the world. And
Mm-hmm.
having that ability to do that in a Sprinter van or a
Yep.
RV type of thing is kind of a unique thing. And so, yeah, kudos to you for doing that and doing it with your two
And
friends
it's
there with you.
I mean, if you know leisure travel vans, they're quite luxurious. They're out of Manitoba, Canada, and it's like having a luxury home on wheels. And then I get to have the dogs with me, so it's super fun. I mean, I can't say more about it, how wonderful it is to just take your own home, your own kitchen, your own stuff just right along with you.
Oh yeah,
So,
it's every person's dream there. So, well, speaking of which, we got a couple of minutes left. What's the best way for people to get in contact with you, or now even to follow you on your journey as well?
so there's two places, the Susie Connor and Bottega Brio. So the Susie Connor's behind the scenes. Bottega Brio is pretty much everywhere, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, etc. So I mean, for designers, Bottega Brio, for anyone that's interested in a designer traveling in an RV with two huge dogs, that's the Susie Connor. So but yeah, it's such a crazy concept, but I think I was validated by a few people, and I'm excited to see how this all like unfolds as we get going on these trips. So it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, we're excited to see your journey unveil too, and we're really thankful for you being on our podcast today because I want to have that as part of the journey for you moving forward? Because I know this won't be the last time we have you on the show. The next one we'll talk about just some of your cool travel stuff that you've endured and go from there. But
I'll send you some snippets.
that'll be great. Susie, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Edward. Have a great day.
Great. To all of our listeners, readers out there, you know the drill. Follow us at thehotelguide.com. Follow us on all our socials, YouTube, Spotify. We'll actually have Susie's contact information in the details later as well. But as we like to say, travel, make memories. And until next time, everybody take care and be safe.